Now, House Democrats are calling the release of those military records a stunning failure to protect her privacy as a veteran and a member of Congress. But Jack Ciattarelli's campaign saying the bigger headline here is that Sherrill never before revealed that she was punished for not reporting that cheating scandal at the Naval Academy.
He doesn't mention anything about how Trump's appointee gets most of his medical information on TikTok and Reels.
Democrat Mikey Sherrill served as a naval helicopter pilot and is currently fighting to be New Jersey's next governor. On Thursday, word that her military records were released to an ally of Jack Ciattarelli, her Republican opponent. It allegedly includes private information and her Social Security number.
Mikey Sherrill is a patriot and a hero.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries calling for answers.
I support a criminal investigation into the unauthorized and illegal release of Mikie Sherrill's records.
CBS News reported that the records were released by the National Personnel Records Center, a branch of the National Archives and Records Administration. The NPRC conceded in a statement that the technician who handled the records request did not follow procedures.
One of the problems here is we've had a real issue in the U.S. Archivist Office where the nonpartisan people used to run it just aren't there anymore. You might know that the lead archivist in the United States right now is Marco Rubio in an acting capacity.
Dan Casino, a political scientist at Fairleigh Dickinson University, says time will tell how voters react to this news. It comes when the latest Pix 11 Emerson College poll shows Sherrill and Ciattarelli neck and neck, separated by just 0.4 of a percentage point.
It's going to be very hard to disprove that this is mere incompetence rather than malice.
And Jack Ciattarelli's campaign calling on Sherrill to release her entire disciplinary record from her time at the Naval Academy. Her campaign said she graduated on time and served for years in the Navy without any incidents. So,
woo, okay, I want to show that part of that story because I'm not going to give any air to the ridiculous accusations about Representative Sherrill's graduation from the military academy. Or the Naval Academy. If she had been in trouble, she wouldn't have graduated. That's the system, okay? So the whole thing is so patently ridiculous. But yesterday it was revealed that her military records were released to her opponent for governor with all of her personal information, including her Social Security, her parents' information, her insurance information, and on, okay? This was then weaponized immediately by Jack Ciattarelli to plant negative stories about her in the right-wing media. Of course, the New York Post, all the others stepped right up to it, and here we are. It's a shocking breach of a decorated Navy veteran's privacy to be used to attack an opponent, send shockwaves to our extended veteran community. If they are willing to do this, if they're willing to do this, what's next for many of us who served? So I don't want to waste a lot of time. I've got Representative Sherrill joining us in an exclusive interview for Midas Touch Network. You guys are here for it. I'm Fred Wellman, host of On Democracy, FP Wellman. We're going to go to that interview first. I got it for about 15 minutes, hopefully, and then we'll talk some more about some other stuff going on. The big Hegseth meeting next week, a lot of people are freaking out about, so I'm going to get into that a little bit. So stay for the whole show. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get on with it, and welcome to On Democracy, FP Wellman. All right, welcome. As I said, I am Fred Wellman, and this is On Democracy FP Wellman. We got a great show. I'm not going to waste any time. Representative Mikie Sherrill, of course, is the District of New Jersey. She is running for governor. It's a big race. It matters, and just 1 month to go. As you saw in the opening clip, it's been a weird day. So let's bring her in. Representative Sherrill, Mikie, welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Always good to talk to fellow helicopter pilot. I was laughing with your team. I said, it's been so long since we talked. It was like February. But it feels like 7 months.
Live with just some people. I'm like, oh my gosh, when did we have that? Was that last week? They're like, Mikie, that was last night. No. Yeah. Right. I've only had 500 meetings since then.
So, well, it's good to see you. I wish this was our better service. You're having a crazy couple of days. I really appreciate you taking time for us here at the Midas Touch Network to talk about it. As a fellow veteran, I'm a military academy grad myself. I am a Black Hawk pilot myself. I know you flew the other ones, but man, let's talk about this illegal release of your unredacted personnel records to your opponent, basically. For those who don't understand what we're talking about, can you tell us a little bit about what happened, what's in there, and how you found out about it?
Yeah, so We found out about it because a journalist came forward and said, Jack Ciattarelli's team has your personnel record, and they shouldn't have it.
No.
They tried to give it to me, and I looked at it, and they shouldn't have all this stuff. Your social security's in there. So we got in touch with him. Shortly thereafter, I think we got a letter from the archives alerting us to this data breach that was inappropriate. So then we got to work digging through exactly what happened. And what we've pieced together is that my primary was June 10th. So on June 9th, somebody working with Ciattarelli, somebody who Ciattarelli had vetted as his lieutenant governor, so someone, in connection with him, and someone who, by the way, is a former military officer, should have known better, FOIA'd my military records and was told that he did not have access to them, that they were privileged, confidential information, personal identifying information, PII type stuff, and he didn't have access, and he needed to get my permission to release them. So on June 10th, I win. Shortly thereafter, he makes a phone call, and he said he got in touch with a real helpful person. So this real helpful person, who he got in touch with, ended up releasing all my documents. And even this guy said, I was, it was kind of shocking, and I was shocked and disgusted that I got this because it had a lot of, it had our social in it. It had a lot of identifying information. And so he knew they shouldn't have released it, but that didn't stop the campaign from disseminating that information. And then if you kind of track into it more to see, well, was this just a mistake or was this nefarious conduct? You find out, first of all, the timeline is ultra suspicious.
Yeah.
Again, you go into all of their procedures. They should have had a signature from me. They didn't. They should have had my social security number. The person at the archives went into a VA website that they had access to. This isn't something you or I could go on. This is a government website, a special website they had access to. They pulled my social security number from that and then used that to get access to my records. And then they should have notified the Navy, which they didn't do. So all of this was conduct that shows you that this was a weaponization of my records, my personal information, that working in conjunction with the Trump administration and their archives, the Jack Ciattarelli team was able to get access to. And then despite, this stuff was stamped in different places with PII and stuff like that, knowing it shouldn't be disseminated, did so anyway to sort of weaponize this. And I am just, here in New Jersey, we are known for tough knockdown
Oh, yeah.
out fights. I have them all the time. I will go toe to toe with anybody because I am going to serve the people of New Jersey no matter what it takes. Gosh darn it. But nevertheless, this lack of honor, this just complete disregard for somebody's personally identifying information. My parents' information was in there. They're in their 80s, and now I'm worried about protecting their credit and how I can do that, and not to mention my own. It is really a new low, I think. And I think the people of New Jersey, of course, should be really concerned about somebody running to be governor who has no, if he's going to do this to me, imagine how he's going to treat the information of the people of New Jersey.
And that's what, the details of the story, and I've read the articles, are so much worse. And the way they're trying to spin it, the archives and your opponent are trying to spin it as, oh no, it was just a clerk who sent the wrong file. And it's clear as you go through this, that's so far from the truth. This was an act by a person with a personal agenda who sent it to your opponent, who then, like you said, what's shocking is a veteran got this and did know better, and yet still gave it to the opponent, and who then gave it to reporters. So step by step, you see Jack Ciattarelli and his machine, and this is machine politics. We're talking New Jersey, will do anything to win. And they sat on this. And another point is that was June. It's October or to October 1st next week. I guess that's just October surprise of some kind as they combed through it to find negative. It does say a lot about your opponent and his morals and his ethics, and he wants to lead. I mean, does this surprise you at all in a certain sense?
You know, it it doesn't. I mean, sadly, it should. This should be so beyond the pale, and yet when we see attack after attack after attack from Trump and MAGA Republicans on people. I remember several years ago listening to a recording that somebody from the Jim Johnson crew, uh, somebody pretty much threatening Don Bacon's wife because he wasn't voting for Jim Johnson as speaker, and how he was going to put this out online, and she was going to be, everybody was going to hate them and they were going to come after them. And he kept saying all these keywords he'd say like in a nonviolent manner, like obviously very well aware of just how to skirt the law while insinuating all the threats possible. And I think knowing that we have people who've tried to kidnap the governor of Michigan, I mean, we know who these people are and how threatening they can be. So to see that kind of attack, that kind of utilization of the federal government against individuals was in some ways not surprising. It was incredibly disappointing, though, to see it sort of transplanted here in New Jersey. But my opponent keeps saying he's going to do that. He said he can't think of anything he disagrees with Trump on. He said it's his job to support the president. He says stuff like he's never going to take him to court. And so again and again, we see that this is how he intends to do this. He wants to remake our court like Trump did, that kind of stuff. And so, I guess he keeps telling us who he is.
Right, right. And another thread to pull on this, I think, and we touched a little bit, but I do want to go back to it, is I'm a veteran. And, I was in the Army 22 years, 4 years at West Point. I graduated in the top 2/3 of my class. Uh, and it's funny when this came out, my fiance said, she goes, "Wow, are you worried about them releasing your academic records?" Like, hey, I was number 600 on 900. Thank you very much. She goes, "You think they'll use it against you? That I'm stupid?"
What about his sweet spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody.
Those are one of the best people graduate.
Well, the thing, the joke is that because I didn't study, my eyes didn't go bad then, and I was able to fly. All the smart humans, their eyes went back. But again, as a veteran, more serious side of this is, it is shocking that there are people in our government that have so little. They went into the VA. I mean, what you just said was even more shocking. My question's wrong, because they went into the VA database to get your personal identifying information to use to authorize release records that never should have been released at all to a political opponent. I mean, this is a lot. This is a lot for the entire veterans community. If the VA's got 9 million of our records, right? I mean, the larger issue here for us as veterans, you and I, and our community that we're a part of, is really shocking. I mean, they will. How far will they go to destroy somebody who's opponent if they'll do this?
Well, that's just it. And this is part of why I'm speaking out so much on this issue, because I'm a sitting member of Congress,
Right.
and
Yep.
they can
Actions.
and I get the ability to fight back, to have this platform to talk about it and to push back against it, and to get agencies that I can help get my credit secured and stuff like that. Imagine the veteran who writes an op-ed against Jack Ciattarelli,
Right.
against Donald Trump. What are they going to do to that person? Imagine, I have been out of the military for quite some time. A lot of that information was not as recent as it would have been if I'd just gotten out, say, 2 years ago or less.
Right.
So imagine if all that was there. Imagine if there was stuff about my children. I mean, my parents were in there, but, there's nothing that I think that the toughest part right now about running. There's a lot of sleepless nights. There's a lot of punches you take in the face. There's a lot of really nefarious conduct by, MAGA Republicans. There's all this is kind of what you sign up for. But what you don't sign up for is putting your family in danger in either way. And so all of this is to say that if this can happen to me, imagine how they could just quash somebody that doesn't have the resources or access that I do.
Right.
And this is, and this is what they want you to think. They want, Trump and people like Jack Ciattarelli want to shut you down and shut down your voice and make sure you don't speak up and you keep your head down. And if you do, oh, look what we can do. And
Yes.
this is what we're fighting. And I just, like you, I know the veterans community very, very well. And I think this will have the opposite effect.
Yeah, I think we have to carry that message to our fellow veterans. Like this, you are just they will not respect your service. They will not respect your privacy, and we all know from service that's all out there. There's nothing you can't hide anything in the military, right? They go through, it's like Jesus. I mean, how far is it to start releasing our DD 80, our background check, what DD 86, whatever. Now your secret, that's every dirty suit you've ever had is in there. I mean, why not? I mean, it's that easy,
Everything you've had, it's everything everyone you love, right? Like,
right?
so I was going through a background check for security clearances at the U.S. Attorney's Office when there was that data breach. And I remember my husband coming to me and going, "Oh man, that is going to be you better be really careful because you've got to secure all your credit and stuff like that." I go, "Oh, honey, we have to be really careful." Like when they do a security background, when they're doing your background check, it's not you in a in a bubble. It's like all the people right?
We never know
You're
exactly.
getting right. I mean, nothing is safe here. And that's why this is so important. This fight is so important. I think the governor's race is so important. This is one of only 2 races in the entire nation. And Trump knows that if I win, like I think New Jersey is capable of showing up for a kind of victory here, then that is a huge shot across the bow about, for his power, because that will show all of the people running for Congress, all the people up for governor next year, that his policies aren't popular, that something has to shift. And so I think, this is so critically important to sort of hopefully, finally, maybe drive a wedge in some of the, in the Republican Party. So it's just not monolithically taking the entire country off a cliff.
Yeah. And people wake up that this is all of us are in this way. It's the old saying, who's to say you're not going to be next? It just, if they're threatening, when you go back to what you said earlier, they're threatening Don Bacon. For those who aren't paying attention, Don Bacon's a Republican. So right. So if you think you're safe because you're Republican today,
Yeah.
wrong, right?
Right. Right. And that's why when this happened, a bipartisan group of people came out against it. Conservative talk radio here has come out against this type of behavior. This is beyond the pale. It really, really is.
Yeah, and it's fascinating to me. They talked about your graduation, but they didn't. I dug into your past too, and I found this scandalous document right here. And this is for those who aren't familiar with it. This is from the Naval Academy superintendent. That's the 3-star that runs the joint. It's the Naval Academy. We still respect them. And that is the Navy Achievement Medal, which is a medal. And you got the Navy Achievement Medal as a midshipman, which for those who understand, I think you were 3rd class, which makes you your 2nd year, if I'm correct, at the Naval Academy. I don't speak Navy. All those strikes.
I was pretty sure it's year. Sophomore year, I was a youngster.
A youngster, they call him. So tell us about this shocking document from your time at the Naval Academy and why you got it.
Well, that's nice you put that up. I no longer have the pilot eyes I once had. So
I'll bring it up. It's your NAM. It's your NAM for saving your classmate's life. That's so for those who can't read it, that is a Navy Achievement Medal she received as a midshipman for a medical emergency while sailing offshore in bad weather when your classmate had a heart problem, right? Or she collapsed. Is that correct?
Yeah. So you make it sound a lot classier than it was.
I just read the document. I'm just,
it's Navy parlance. We were not, I wasn't on a sailboat, unfortunately. I was on what was called a yard patrol craft.
Okay, yard patrol craft.
Small. It would look like a mini destroyer. It was a training craft for seamanship and navigation. And so
I remember mocking the carry-on.
Sure you did. And so we were out at sea and we were off the coast of North Carolina, and they had just had some hurricanes come through. The seas were incredibly rough and the winds were bad. And so a lot of people, these ships are, I would say, barely seaworthy. I think they're mostly meant to be in the Chesapeake for training. We've taken them far afield. And so we're off the coast of North Carolina and kind of the Outer Banks area, which are known, to be quite rough seas. And a hurricane had blown through. So it was really, really tough. So a lot of people were getting seasick. And I don't get motion sick very often. So I was at that helmet, I was up on the bridge, and a few people we kind of had a skeleton crew going because so many people were really, really sick. And I remember I was sent down at one point to feed ice chips to people. And I remember one of the comments I got to this day, because it still kind of cracks me up. I went over to one person. I said, you're supposed to eat some ice chips. And she looked at me and she goes, who are you, Flores Nightingale? Ninjas to die, tempers were high. So yeah,
What did I joined the Army for a reason, Mikey.
great. But we were, so we had the skeleton crew. So one of my classmates was trying to stay on watch, but I don't think she'd eaten in quite some time. I think she'd been throwing up like most of the people on the ship. So she came up and ended up passing out.
Oh, wow.
And hit her head as she passed out, and had I think some mild seizures, but then stopped breathing and her heart stopped beating. So myself and another midshipman gave her rescue breathing and CPR for several hours because the helicopter could not. We weren't in stable enough waters, and the winds were too bad to get in there. I mean, I know you or I could have done it, but they couldn't get in there to really be stable to safely evacuate her. So it took them some time. And so for a couple hours, we were able to provide CPR and rescue breathing. And then she was okay. She ended up being, doing great. So, but it was really, it was a real crisis. And that was probably one of the first situations like that. Not the last you find yourself in the military. There are just these intense moments. And I tell people the military puts you some real and some not. The helicopter dunker, which we in the Navy had to do, is when you got strapped in and blindfolded and turned upside down and dropped into water and had to swim out, which put me I felt like I was in a crisis situation. I hated that thing. So sometimes manufactured, sometimes real crises. But it happens so often that you do become, I don't want to say comfortable, but you know how to operate in a crisis. And I don't think you realize that. I don't know if you did. When I was young and at the academy and stuff like that, I don't think I realized how that, how that operated until you're years later and you realize you have a way of approaching a crisis.
Yep.
And you just have been through so many.
Yep.
That you just sort of get to it, and I
Fear kicks him.
found that very
Yeah, it's funny. I was in Colorado with my family, dropping our oldest, my fiance's oldest, off at college, and we're coming down the mountain, and there's a motorcycle's got hit head on, and all the traffic stopped, and nobody's doing anything, and I'm like, oh, I throw the car in park, and I just get out, and I started directing traffic. I found with the radio. We just got it all organized, and people are like, who are you? I'm like, it's just a dude.
That's so fascinating.
And my fiance is like, do you do that often? I'm like, yeah, I mean, somebody had to,
I'm absolutely shocked as I sit here because I was driving down the street in one of our towns and everyone was stopped. And so we pulled up behind a car and we're just waiting there. I'm like, what's going on? And so I, get out and there's a motorcycle guy down. There is a woman in her driveway that apparently had hit him, and she seemed to be sort of just sitting there. And other people were just sitting. The person that had arrived on the scene first was just sitting there. And I just was puzzled. But yeah,
Exactly.
you have all this training too. So I got out. It immediately comes back to you. Call 911. That's your first thing.
That's it.
Are you okay? All the step 8 and I can't believe you had.
It's so funny.
I'm in the suburbs of New Jersey, not the mountains of Colorado. So yours seem to be much.
It was great. The volunteer firefighter with the radio. She goes, who are you? I'm like, just some asshole. And it's like, great. Well, good, asshole. Go make those cars move so we can get the ambulance. Like, okay, I got it. You're in charge now. And I'm running past my family, and my fiance's like, this fucking guy. So anyway, good talk. I know you got to go. You're probably got 9 interviews lined up. I've taken so much of your time. We could talk all day. I'm so sorry this happened to you, and I appreciate you standing out. And I know it's painful because they're going to try and throw everything they can at you, and they'll dig things up. I'm not going to touch the lies and the BS and the spin, but I'm glad you're in the fight. We wish you the best of luck because you got your election just a month. It's a key election, and our friend Abigail Spanbaker, who, by the way, I think introduced us, which is the fun. Yeah, I think we were at the DNC, and Abigail's like, Mikey, and I'm like, oh, I've never met her. She goes, God damn it, you need to. So it's like, you have too much in common. You should know each other. So I really appreciate your time. Tell your team I said thank you very much, and good luck out there. We're following you. Let us know if we can do anything else. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate it. And if everyone could go to MikieSherrill.com, sign up to chip in, to volunteer, to phone bank, to Canvas, to text bank, we can use all the help we can get. We've got a real fight on our hands here. We do have just a little over a month left. So I think this is such a central race to really this nation and the future. And we'd love your help. So thank you so much.
Oh, good luck. Yeah, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thanks.
You know, starting a business is very hard. You're going through everything with like finding out your logo, building your website, getting your point of sale set up, your inventory, supply chains these days. Don't get me started about that. You know, when my family started a business 12 years ago in a small town in Virginia, that was one of the big challenges we had. How do we find a point of sale that works? How do we run an online store? How does it all integrate with our social media channels and everything else? And we were just glad that we finally found a partner that works so well for us. And that's where Shopify comes in. Shopify is a commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. And it's 10% of all e-commerce just in the US alone, from household names that you know, like Mattel and Gymshark, to brands just getting started. Or you know what? Brands you should know, like Sugar and Spruce in Fredericksburg, Virginia. You can get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand's style. Now, you start your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography for you. You can get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns whenever your customers are scrolling or strolling, and it integrates directly into your point of sale system. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with world-class expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing returns and beyond. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. So that's where we come in. Turn your big business idea into... That's right. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/Fred. That's go to shopify.com/Fred. One more time for those at home, shopify.com/Fred. You can start your business now and grow it successfully.
And we're back. So great conversation with Representative Sherrill. And I just really you look, two old helicopter pilots starting to tell war stories. That's how it goes, you guys. So you just got a window for those watching. You got a window on how it works. We all start telling our stories. And I thought it's such a pleasure to have people like Mikey stepping up to run. The fact is we need people who aren't afraid of these fights. As you can see, being a Navy helicopter pilot, flying the worst kinds of weather and doing the things we need to do, it has long legs, as they say. It continues to be a part of you, who you are. And you can see with Representative Sherrill what a big part of it is. Before I let you go, I want to talk about another big story this week that I care about. And it's related to this military stuff. It's related to my life as a Black Hawk kind of scout helicopter pilot. And there's two issues going on the Pentagon right now. You may have heard them. And I want to talk about especially because a lot of those here in our community on the progressive side, if you will, here in the Miles family, are very freaked out. Let's say we're very freaked out about this meeting that Pete Hegseth has called next week at the Pentagon, where he's going to have it was actually it's at Quantico Marine Corps Base. And what he's calling them all, so the story came out in the Washington Post. That aren't familiar, let me show the headline as I get my stuff together. You guys, you're bearing with me because once again, Fred is on his own without adult supervision. So bear with me. So here's the story. There's new details. So Pete Hegseth has ordered all of the generals who are in command positions from 1-star up to 4-star and their senior enlisted advisors, which is a double, to all fly to Quantico, Virginia, in the Marine Corps base, Quantico, next Tuesday. Now, first of all, that should be secret. I mean, that should be a freaking secret. You don't announce to the entire world, to include terrorists and Russians and everybody else on Earth, that we're going to take every single commander on Earth and fly them to one base in Virginia that sits on a river, by the way. And by the way, don't worry about it. It's super not secret at all. And by the way, every command on earth is going to be without their general officer command. Because I know since Hegseth doesn't have any respect for general officers or leaders, he doesn't give a shit that their commands are going to be without leaders. But this is going to shock you guys. And I know you're shocked because I'm only a lieutenant colonel in the Army. I was a lieutenant colonel in the Army. That was my high rank. I was a light colonel in some parlance, right? Lieutenant colonel. I was a 05. Okay. About 22 years in the Army. I made lieutenant colonel. Okay. Generals actually do work. Generals do important work. They make important decisions. A lot make really important decisions in the heat of the moment. Certain decisions can only be made at the general officer rank. For a general officer and his senior enlisted advisor to pick up and fly to Quantico, Virginia, you're talking 2 aides, possibly 2 more on top of that. So you're talking flying 4 to 5 people from all over the world to Quantico, Virginia, trying to find hotels. This is going to shock you guys. This is going to shock you. But I used to live outside of Quantico. There's not a lot of hotels. Okay, right, that area. It's not. It's country. It's between the DC and it's between Fredericksburg, Virginia, and there's not a lot of Quantico because they don't do a lot of big events there. Okay, so they're going to have to find hotels that are secure, by the way, for every commanding general in the and admiral. Sorry, don't mean to just besmirch our Navy friends in the entire world. I don't know how many that is. 400? I don't know. There's 800 generals. They're all coming. It's insane. But now here's where the freak out came in, y'all. A lot of people freaked out that this was going to be, and I get it. I shouldn't be smirched. A lot of people are concerned that this is much more dark, that it's the day before the government shutdown that they're threatening to fire people over, that things are getting a lot darker over there with Pete Hegseth. And I'll talk about the next story, threatening reporters to sign a pledge they won't report information that's not approved by the Pentagon. Some really dark, super fascist stuff. But this is how, for example, here's my friend Ben Hodges. If you watch the show, General Ben has been a guest of the show multiple times. It was one of my bosses in Iraq. As a matter of fact, he and I shared a chunk of Iraq together, and I've known him for years. He posted this interesting post about how in July of 1935, German generals were called to a surprise assembly in Berlin and formed their previous oath that the Weimar Constitution was void. They would be required to swear a personal oath to Fuhrer. Most of those generals took that new oath to keep their position. This is true. It used to be to the Republic and the Constitution, but to the new oath they swore was directly to the Fuhrer himself, Adolf Hitler. Now, General Ben knows his hero. General Ben actually lives in Germany. He knows his history, if you will. He's a real dude. And this is how the absolute loser, that is our Secretary of Defense, replied. Cool story, General. So we don't actually have a Secretary of Defense. We sure as hell don't have a Secretary of War. What we've got is a fucking troll. That's what we've got, is a troll. We have a troll commanding the sec trolling, because this guy who runs the largest department of the United States government, this guy who runs the over 2 million service members around the world and civilians, this guy has time to troll retired 3 or 4-star generals on the internet. That's his priority, is trolling on the internet. That's Pete Hegseth for you right there. General Ben knows a lot more history than the idiot Pete Hegseth. And here's the other thing. I'm going to watch. We'll show this video too.
Pentagon reporters to sign a pledge demanded by Secretary Hegseth, saying reporters with a Pentagon credential not obtain or use unauthorized material in their reporting, even if the information is totally unclassified, and reporters can lose their credentials and access to the Pentagon if they violate this. News agencies are gearing up for a major legal battle. This is a subject close to my heart. I'm a former Pentagon correspondent. We're not supposed to be stenographers for the U.S. military. The only thing that they want, this current administration, is for reporters to report what's out there in formal public Pentagon press releases and not do any serious reporting on subjects that the Pentagon doesn't necessarily want the American people to know about. This is outrageous.
I think you captured it just so pointedly. It's not only outrageous, it's deeply concerning. I mean, freedom of the press is what distinguishes the United States from other countries around the world who try and choke information off from the press. And you know that building, the press, I mean, while you can have contentious relationships sometimes, and certainly when I was there, we disagreed on stories, but press have free reign of the Pentagon and can go to any single floor and ask the questions, because the Pentagon and the Department of Defense is so big. You need that type of access. And so to really choke off information, it's going to come at the detriment to Secretary Hegseth. I don't think any news organization or serious reporter is going to sign this pledge, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to report just on information just given to you by the Pentagon. This CNN has done incredible reporting and exposed stories to the public's eye, whether it was on Iraq and weapons of mass destruction to the withdrawal of Afghanistan. And we didn't always see eye to eye, but it's important that the public have the facts.
Certainly important. And I don't think any serious journalist would ever sign a document like that promising to report only what the Pentagon says you can report publicly. It's really outrageous.
Yeah, it's really outrageous. They nailed it. Wolf Blitzer. How do I know Wolf Blitzer? From the Pentagon. When I was a spokesman for General Petraeus and then General Dempsey in Iraq, I dealt with Wolf Blitzer during his Sunday show. It's a lot. The Pentagon is a huge building, and the journalists who work there are the most professional in the business, except for the right wingers. But people like Blitzer and Barbara Starr, the legend from CNN, and others, Dan Lamoth. I could rattle off the Pentagon reporters I know who are such professionals who work that building. They are credentialed. They have press badges to go in and out of the Pentagon. They go as they need to go to get stories, and it happens. The idea the Secretary of Defense would turn around and try to restrict their access and make them sign an actual pledge, like a 3-page pledge, saying they won't even report unclassified information. Unclassified information is outrageous, and it's unacceptable. And by the way, that deadline comes the same day as his big speech. And by the way, I'll finish it with that. What's the big speech about? Now we find out. I'll go back to that story to finish this conversation. What's the big speech about? The big speech is about, of all things, a rah-rah speech by the report we're getting right now is this guy who's completely unqualified for his job is summoning all these generals to Quantico to look him in the eyes and tell him about how focused the War Department is on war fighting and lethality. This guy, who's not even a qualified squad leader, in my humble opinion, his largest platoon command he ever had was a platoon of a couple 20 maybe 20 soldiers. This guy wants to summon every general and senior enlisted member of the United States military to an auditorium to give them a fucking rah-rah speech. That's his priority for our service members. Oh, by the way, fun fact, if they're there on September 30th at the end of the fiscal year and the money runs out, guess where they're stuck? In Virginia, because the TDY is the first thing that's cut. The funds for them to fly back and forth will be cut and frozen. He's literally risking trapping our senior commanders in Washington, D.C. and Northern Virginia so he can look them in the eyes and tell them what's going on. We have the most sophisticated, classified, secret, conferencing system in the world. It's a separate, it's not Zoom, okay? It's secret. And this guy wants to have them all so he can look him in the eyes. The most unqualified, embarrassing, and incompetent man to ever hold the office of Secretary of Defense. Ever. And I can't wait to flip the House and start doing real investigations into that guy. One last thing I had to show you guys, and then I'm going to tell you some news. First one, so this is classic. This literally came up on a friend of mine posted this, and this is real. This is real. Citizens Against Tyranny, okay? This is Citizens Against Tyranny. They said free speech protects you from the government, not from your boss or the FCC. Breaking rules is essential. It's accountability. Okay. Any of you guys have any idea what the F in FCC stands for? Federal Communications Commission. This is what we're dealing with, folks.
Okay.
I don't know who these guys are. I didn't look. Maybe it's fake. I don't know. I just found it hilariously hilarious. And somebody is out there saying you can't be protected from the FCC, but only the feds, when the FCC is the feds. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Look, I want to give you a heads up. So I've been teasing for a while that we have a big announcement coming up, and we do. So I am so excited. On October, we'll be announcing a very big change in direction for the show, for me, for a lot of people in my life, and I'm so excited. And if you could just go ahead, sign up at fpwellman.substack.com for free. Our Substack is free, folks. There's no charge. You have to work your way through the Substack signups, but our Substack is free. If you choose to be a paid subscriber, thank you. That helps pay the bills. But if you want to get our earliest announcement, we're talking midnight, October 1st, of what's happening, you can get it at my Substack. That's fpwellman.substack.com. But we have got a very big announcement. I'm thrilled to tell you guys about it. I've been planning it for just a couple of months now. We canceled our Sunday show and have been preparing quite a bit to get ready for this day. But we are planning on 1 October, the crack of dawn, a big announcement that I think you'll love. I hope you'll love, and I hope you'll join us on our new direction that we're going. It's fpwellman.substack.com. Just sign up right there. It's free, completely free, and you'll get notifications as soon as I tell the world. If not, follow me on all my social media channels. Of course, as you know, I am FP Wellman everywhere at FP Wellman Official. Thank you to our sponsor, Shopify. As always, we love having Shopify on the show. My daughter uses it. I used it with my business. I love Shopify. It's the best sponsor to have. So with all that, thank you for joining us here on Friday night. Thank you for watching the show and reruns. It is so good to be with all of you. I'm so proud to have you guys be part of the Midas Touch family still. And again, keep up the fight, guys. They want us scared. You heard from Representative Sherrill. They want us to be scared. And the only thing we could do is resist that and don't fall for it. I'm with you. As my tattoo says, you guys, I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. You're not done yet. We're not done yet. So let's keep up the fight. I'll see you again soon. Thank you.